Hi guys, today we are making an epic vegan lentil shepherd's pie. This is actually a 3-layer pie, so you have the main lentil layer, then you have a pumpkin mash layer and a potato mash layer. You can leave out one of the mash layers, but I can assure you the combination is incredible. I hope you enjoy this recipe, and let's get straight into the video. Alright, so first up we need to cook our pumpkin. I would recommend to preheat your oven to about 200 degrees Celsius while you cut up your pumpkin. And yeah, just cut it up into chunks. I have used about 1/4 of a pumpkin here, but I didn't quite use all of it in the mash, so a bit less than 1/4 of a pumpkin will do perfect. So I just seasoned it with some salt and pepper, no oil whatsoever, and then just straight into the oven for about 30 to 40 minutes, depending on how big or how small you cut up your pumpkin. And now we move on to the potatoes. So I have 5 small potatoes here, but you could use 3 larger potatoes. It basically just depends on what size your potatoes are. But yes, 5 small or 3 large potatoes, peeled and then cut in half. And then we will place it into some boiling water and bring that to the boil. Once that has reached boiling temperature, you want to reduce the temperature down a bit so it can simmer for about 20 to 30 minutes. And while that is simmering and while the pumpkin is cooking, we are going to chop up all the veggies for the lentil layer. So you need to chop up 1 onion as well as 3 cloves of garlic. Guys, let me know if you have a simpler way to cut up your garlic, because I always get it in my nails. I mean, I guess I could use a garlic crusher, but I find my garlic crusher always tends to get dirty. Anyway, moving on. Now we have some carrots. I have 2 large carrots here. We just want to cut them up nice and fine. And then I have about 1/3 of a leek, a large leek I would say. I'd used a bit of it previously for another meal. So yeah, about 1/3 of a leek, just chopped up finely. And then we have some mushrooms. So I've used, I think it was 5 small handfuls of mushrooms. I'd say 150 to 200 grams of mushrooms. And you, again, just want to cut that up quite fine. So now it's time to cook it all up. I just put a bit of garlic olive oil on my pan, and then straight into that hot pan I put in the onions and garlic and just saute that for a little bit. Then I like to add in my leeks as well, because I really like them to be cooked through. Next up, we're going to add in the carrots and the mushrooms. And just stir that through, give that a bit of heat, let it sit for a bit to really sizzle up. I also added in a little bit of this stock that I'm making here now while they were cooking, so that they didn't stick to the pan, because I had already added in a decent amount of oil and I didn't really feel the need to add in any more. So what I'm doing here is I'm mixing some stock powder in with some boiling water. This recipe requires 4 cups of stock. So if you're using the stock powder like me, you just want to repeat that until you have 4 cups of stock into your pan. So you can see in the pan here that the lentils are actually already in there. That is 1.5 cups of French lentils. I actually didn't have all French lentils, I'd run out. So I had like half French lentils, half black lentils. Those are the 2 best types of lentils for this dish, but alternatively, you could use green lentils or brown lentils. I just haven't tried it with that. So now we're going to add in some spices. Here I have some thyme. I added in 2 teaspoons of dried thyme, and then I'm going in with a teaspoon of rosemary. These spices just add in a lovely traditional style flavor to the shepherd's pie that really just make it taste delicious. Then I'm going in with some salt and pepper to taste, and you can always add more later. Now for the secret ingredient, and what I feel gives this a delicious depth of flavor, is some balsamic vinegar. I'm adding in 2 tablespoons of this rich dark balsamic vinegar. It just really gives it, that depth of flavor that takes it to a new level. So you want to stir that all through and let that cook for about 20 to 30 minutes. on a medium heat. Alright, so while that's cooking, your potatoes are probably done, so you just want to strain the water out of them and then go in to mash them. So I'm using this really handy masher tool I have, but if you don't have one of those, you can just use a fork. It might just take a little bit longer. I really find this so satisfying, watching all the potato go through the mashing thing. Anyway, it's time to add in some butter. So here I have 2 tablespoons of Nuttelex, and I actually am later going to add in another tablespoon, so it's 3 tablespoons in total of Nuttelex. If you don't want to use Nuttelex, or if you don't want to use butter at all, you could add in a little bit of oil, or you could just leave it with that and add in some more plant milk instead, but it just really makes it deliciously fluffy and adds a bit of decadence to this otherwise extremely nutritious meal. So now I'm adding in some salt. I have this herb mare salt. It's infused with some different vegetables and it just has this delicious taste. And then also some pepper, and just stir that up. And then along the way, you want to just keep tasting the mash to see if it needs a little bit more salt or pepper, or a little bit more of that Nuttelex, just to get the balance perfectly right. I guess I did this a few times until the balance was perfect. So here I'm adding in, I would say, about 1/4 to 1/3 of a cup of Oatly oat milk. I would suggest adding in just a splash and mixing it up, and then adding in another splash just until you get the right texture, because depending on how much potato you have, it will get a slightly different texture. So yeah, just add enough that you think it is right for your potatoes. Alright, so that is all done and dusted now. Back to our pumpkin. So our pumpkin has been cooking for about 30 minutes and it is perfectly caramelized and delicious. You just want to take that out and mash it up with that same masher you used before. This pumpkin we already seasoned with the salt and pepper, so it already has a bit of seasoning, and to be honest, you don't really have to add anything to it. It is just delicious as it is. Nevertheless, I decided to add in a few extra spices, so I added in a sprinkle of cumin as well as some nutmeg. And then I also added in some cinnamon. These flavors just taste so delicious with pumpkin. If you have ever had a kind of like pumpkin pie spiced food, you will know about these spices tasting so good with pumpkin. Anyway, just mix that all up and then it is done. So now back to the lentil filling. So the lentils have been cooking for about 30 minutes. It is time to add in about 3/4 of a cup of frozen peas. You can add more or less depending on your preferences, but that is how much I added today. You just want to stir that all through and then let it cook a little bit more. So what we're looking for here is we want the water to have cooked into the lentils, so that the lentils are fully cooked through and there isn't too much excess liquid. So you can see here there's still a bit of excess liquid, so what I decided to do was take out a bit of the liquid, like so, and then stir in some arrowroot flour. So I only added in about a teaspoon because I really didn't think it needed too much thickening. I just stirred that into the liquid and then I pour it back into the lentil mixture. You just want to stir that through and then just give it a second to start to thicken up the sauce a bit. Alternatively, you could add in some of the mashed potato, which could also thicken up the mixture. So now you want to get a large dish that is oven safe and pour in the lentil mixture. And then we're going to be putting in a layer of the pumpkin mash. So you want to get a fork out and just spread that nice and thin across the whole mixture. This just adds such a lovely sweetness to this meal, and it is seriously delicious, guys. If you give this a go, please let me know because I absolutely loved creating this recipe for you all. And now for the potato mash. You want to just, again, try get an even layer as best you can. And then what I like to do is have all the lines of the fork going in one direction. It just makes it look really cute. Lol, I think I'm so funny and I'm so not. But anyway, as you can see, all of the lines of the fork are going in one direction. Now it is all ready to go into the oven. So the oven is set at about 210 degrees and we put that in there for about 10 to 15 minutes. When it is almost golden on top, I just like to put the temperature up to 225 for maybe 2 minutes just to get it a little bit crispy on top before taking it out to serve. All right, now for the moment of truth, cutting into it. Honestly, this worked out so well. I was so surprised at how well the mash and the pie filling stayed together. It really reminded me so much of the traditional shepherd's pie that I had when I was a child, and I really found this quite nostalgic and also super comforting. It was a cold autumn night and I just found this really satisfying and such a comforting meal, and it's also great to know that I'm eating something that is so packed full of nutrition and it's actually really healthy for me. Alright, and so now for the all-important moment, the taste test. Better get some of the mash. This is seriously delicious. Oh, I've actually never put the pumpkin mash in there as well. It's the first time and it's so good. Just adds an extra depth of flavor. It's just delicious. Okay, well, I'm gonna go sit down and eat the rest of this because it is so good. I cannot wait. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you try it out. If you like this video, please click the subscribe button below and please like this video so I can know to make more videos like this. I hope you have a great day and I will see you in my next video. Bye!